For 130 years, one country decided what a car was supposed to be. Not how fast it went, not how much it cost, but what it meant, what it communicated about the person sitting behind the wheel, what standard every other manufacturer on earth was quietly measured against. That country was Germany. Karl Benz built the first true automobile in Mannheim in 1885. Not a concept, not a prototype somebody sketched on paper. A machine that moved under its own power and changed everything that came after it. Within 3 decades, German engineering had become the language that the entire automotive world spoke. By the middle of the 20th century, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen had turned that language into a global religion. Audi followed. Porsche refined it. And for the better part of a century, the hierarchy was settled. Germany built the benchmark. Everyone else built toward it. Then something happened that nobody in Stuttgart or Munich or Wolfsburg fully anticipated. And understanding what that something actually was, not the surface version, not the headline version, but the real version, is what this film is about. Because the story most people tell about China and German cars is wrong. Not slightly wrong, fundamentally wrong. And the correct version is considerably more interesting. To understand what is happening right now, you need to understand what happened 20 years ago. Because this story does not begin with electric cars. It begins with a decision that German manufacturers made when China was still considered a developing market with enormous potential but limited sophistication. The decision was this: China is the future, and we need to be inside it. In the early 2000s, Volkswagen was already the most recognizable foreign car brand in China. BMW and Mercedes were building aspirational demand among a rapidly expanding Chinese middle class that associated German badges with everything they were working toward. The numbers were extraordinary. China's automotive market was growing at rates that made European and American projections look almost irrelevant. By 2009, China had become the world's largest car market. By the mid-2010s, China had become the single most important market for BMW, Volkswagen Group, and Mercedes-Benz. Not important in a general sense. Important in the sense that without Chinese sales, the financial foundations of these companies looked fundamentally different. German manufacturers built factories in China. They formed joint ventures with Chinese partners as required by local regulations. They localized models, extended wheelbases to satisfy Chinese preferences for rear seat space, and invested billions in a market that was rewarding them handsomely. China was not just a growth opportunity for German car companies. It had become their most important single market on the planet. And inside that dependency, something was growing that German boardrooms did not see clearly enough, or did not want to see clearly enough until it was already a serious problem. Chinese automakers were watching everything. The joint venture structure that allowed BMW and Volkswagen to access the Chinese market also gave Chinese partners proximity to German engineering, manufacturing processes, and supply chain thinking. This is not an accusation. It is simply what happens when the world's largest car market requires technology transfer as the price of entry. The education flowed in both directions, but the direction that mattered most strategically was the one that flowed into Chinese hands. More important than what Chinese manufacturers learned from their German partners, however, was what they learned from their own market. China is not a single car market. It is dozens of markets layered on top of each other, with wildly different consumer expectations across different cities, income levels, and age groups. To survive in China, you have to be fast. You have to be responsive. You have to be able to design, engineer, test, and launch a new model in a timeframe that would be considered impossible in Germany. Volkswagen typically takes several years to bring a new model from concept approval to customer delivery. Several Chinese automakers have compressed that cycle significantly, in some cases to roughly half the time. That is not a marginal advantage. It is a fundamentally different relationship with time. And while German manufacturers were optimizing processes built around lengthy development cycles, Chinese automakers were building an entirely different kind of infrastructure. One that was faster, more integrated, and increasingly better at one specific technology that was about to become the most important technology in the entire automotive industry: the battery. Here is a fact that changes the entire frame of this conversation. BYD does not just make cars. BYD makes batteries. It makes the cells, the modules, the packs, and the management systems. It supplies batteries to other manufacturers. Its Blade battery, a lithium iron phosphate design, has been independently assessed as one of the safest and most thermally stable large-format battery architectures in production anywhere in the world. CATL, Contemporary Amperex Technology Company, Limited, is among the largest battery manufacturers on Earth. It supplies batteries to BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, and dozens of other manufacturers across multiple continents. The company that powers a significant portion of the world's electric vehicles is Chinese. BMW sources batteries from CATL for the 9-3. Volkswagen has supply relationships with Chinese battery manufacturers for its ID series vehicles. Mercedes-Benz sources battery cells from multiple suppliers including Chinese manufacturers. What this means is that the competitive threat from China is not simply coming from outside German manufacturers. In some cases, it is embedded inside their own products. The Chinese battery industry has built an advantage that German manufacturers cannot simply engineer away: enormous production scale, deep supply chains, and increasingly competitive battery technology. And cost is where the picture gets genuinely uncomfortable for German manufacturers. Chinese battery manufacturers produce at a scale that Western competitors cannot currently match. That cost advantage does not disappear when a German car leaves the factory. It compounds through the supply chain and shows up in the final retail price of the vehicle. Take the BYD Han and the Mercedes-Benz EQE. They occupy a similar executive electric space, but in markets like China and other price-sensitive markets, the price gap can be enormous. The gap is not a few $1,000s, it can be tens of thousands. Those two numbers sitting next to each other are not a comparison of features. They are a structural argument about manufacturing economics that Mercedes does not yet have a complete answer to. The battery cost problem was just the beginning. While German manufacturers were still calculating how to respond to Chinese battery economics, something more immediate was already happening in showrooms across Shanghai and Beijing. BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and Volkswagen were all facing growing pressure from Chinese competitors. Not in one segment, across multiple markets simultaneously. Volkswagen, the brand that had defined what a car meant to generations of Chinese buyers, watched its market share decline meaningfully from peak levels. The Golf, the Passat, the Tiguan, sitting on forecourts longer than before. Dealers discounting, customers still choosing something else. BMW's China sales came under pressure after years of uninterrupted growth. The 9-3, built specifically in China, faced domestic competition at significantly lower prices. Being built in China was not enough. Being relevant in China was the problem BMW had not yet solved. Mercedes-Benz discovered the limits of luxury positioning the hard way. The EQS suffered depreciation rates that neither the company nor its customers had anticipated. Buyers who paid premium prices watched the value fall at a rate that made ownership feel like a financial mistake. The market was communicating something plainly. It did not agree with what Mercedes believed its electric vehicles were worth. Audi recognized that competing in China required a different approach. It partnered with SAIC to develop new electric vehicles specifically for the Chinese market. The strategy was different this time. New electric vehicles developed with a Chinese partner, using technology and platforms tailored specifically to Chinese consumers. And Audi developed with a Chinese partner, specifically for the Chinese market. That sentence alone captures how dramatically the competitive landscape had shifted. Every previous problem had a technical solution. Emissions: engineer cleaner engines. Safety: engineer stronger structures. The competition was not simply building cheaper alternatives to German products. It was changing what buyers expected from a car in the first place. German engineering, however exceptional, could not close that gap alone. For the first time in over a century, the benchmark Germany had built was being questioned. Not because German cars had gotten worse, because the definition of better had started to change around them. Germany did not accept this quietly. It never has. BMW announced the new E-Class, a ground-up electric vehicle platform described as the most significant engineering investment in its entire history. Mercedes-Benz repositioned deliberately toward the ultra-premium segment where the three-pointed star still means something no competitor has yet replicated. Volkswagen invested in Rivian to access software capability its own timelines could not deliver fast enough. Audi's SAIC partnership was not surrender. It was the most honest acknowledgement that winning in China requires understanding China from the inside. These are not the moves of companies giving up. They are the moves of companies that finally understand the fight they are in. But in China, the market does not wait, not even for Germany. The financial consequences are documented. Volkswagen announced plans to close German factories, plants that had operated for decades. BMW and Mercedes-Benz both reported significant China sales pressure. The collective financial strain across German automotive has been described by industry analysts as the most significant structural challenge the sector has faced in the modern era. These are not bad quarter numbers. These are structural shift numbers from the most important market German automotive ever built its future around. Here is where most people end this story. Germany is losing. China is winning. A century of dominance is finished. That conclusion is wrong. In Germany, the United States, and Western Europe, German cars still define the premium segment. The S-Class remains one of the industry's benchmarks for luxury ride quality. The M3 remains one of the defining performance sedans. These reputations were not built in one product cycle. They were built across generations and earned through engineering that has no shortcut. Chinese manufacturers face substantial tariff barriers in the markets where German brands are strongest. The European Union imposed significant tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in 2024. The United States has tariffs that effectively close the market entirely. Those barriers are not permanent, but they are time. And German manufacturers are using that time. BMW's new E-Class enters production from 2025. Mercedes-Benz repositioning is already underway. Volkswagen's Rivian partnership is already delivering. Germany has been here before, not against this specific competition, but in the position of having to reinvent under pressure. It survived 2 world wars, an oil crisis, an emissions scandal, and a global financial collapse. And it still builds the cars everyone else measures themselves against. German automotive engineering is not suddenly inferior. The S-Class remains one of the industry's benchmarks for ride quality at any price. The Quattro system, refined over 4 decades, still sets the standard. BMW's inline-6 engines represent decades of continuous development that no competitor has yet matched. But consumers do not only buy engineering, they buy relevance. Germany dominated the automotive world for over 100 years, not by standing still, by solving the hardest problems faster and better than anyone else. The battery problem, the software problem, the relevance problem. These are the hardest problems German automotive has ever faced. The question is not whether German engineering can solve them. It has solved harder things. The question is whether it can solve them fast enough. Because in China, the clock is already running, and it has never once waited for Germany.